Diego Cordovez with The Scoop, together with Adam Schoenfeld, and our guest today is Jamie Gold. Everybody comes to the World Series trying to win the big one, and Jamie did it last year. This has probably been a huge year for you, and it'd be fantastic to win again, but most likely in 30 days somebody else will be the new king of the poker world and the new guy in the spotlight. Is that going to be a relief for you, or are you going to miss it?
I don't know. I don't think about things in my life that way. I just kind of take it as it comes. So if you ask me in 30 days, I'll let you know how I'm feeling. I have no idea how I'll feel afterwards. I'm kind of just living and dealing with it as it comes. So I'll let you know after it's not me.
Well, these first couple of days, you've played some of the tournaments already. You noticed...
Well, you can call it that, but I mean, I sat down for a minute, yeah.
Did you notice a big difference in terms of how people reacted to you? Not just socially, but just in terms of the play of the hands and the game itself?
Yeah, people are basically calling me with anything.
Yeah, they're taking shots at you.
Yeah, and everyone's coming after me. So it's you can't really get a clean game anymore. You're playing 8 or 9 on 1.
Are they coming after you because they think you're a wild bluffer, or because they want to knock you out and go home and say they knocked Jamie out?
You never know. Yeah,
all of the above?
I think it's all of it. I think everybody wants to catch me, say that they beat me, say that they lost to me, or at least if they went out, they lost to
They played a hand with you. They played 30 hands with you. Right. Everyone wants to play all the hands.
So you have to play so incredibly tight, which is not my style, but I guess part of, eventually, hopefully, I'll become a really good poker player. You just have to change your style all the time.
Through observation, it wasn't my feeling that you were tight. So that must be a big change for you.
Yeah.
If that's a correct read on my part.
Yeah.
Greg Raymer won, and then he had a spectacular finish. I think he finished 25th the next year in the main event.
And he had a ton of chips with 3 tables left and took a beat.
And then Joe Hacham, he won an event, I think, and has had some good results on the World Poker Tour. Do you feel really pressured to validate yourself, or does it not matter to you?
I know it's not the answer that people want to hear, but no, I really don't. I don't put that kind of pressure on myself. It's not that I don't care. I don't care what other people put on me.
Right.
Where other people say, "Oh, if you don't win one this year at the World Series, that's your thing. That's not my thing." Mm-hmm. I had one goal, and I accomplished that goal. So now it would be really nice. But I don't feel like I have to validate. And let's say I won every event I played in. That still wouldn't make me any better of a player than I am anyway. So I know if I'm playing well. I know if I'm learning. I want to be a great poker player one day, but I don't believe that any player should be judged based on 1 year of their life. No. I think that some of the greatest players have great years. They have bad years. Yeah. And so give me 10 years, and then if you want to judge me, then judge me. But I've just begun.
Even guys who've won 7, 8, 10 bracelets, and there are 3 guys, they show up at World Series and they blank for most of the series, or they have 1 or 2
right.
finishes.
It doesn't make them any different of a player, but people love to take shots at anybody who they don't necessarily know, or they feel like got lucky, or whatever it was. But I wasn't doing it for anyone else except myself. So
do you think people have a lot of misperceptions about you?
Oh yeah, but they have misperceptions about everybody. I mean, some of the people you think are the greatest people in the world aren't exactly the nicest people in the world. They have, and the people who you think are absolute assholes are some of the nicest people in the world. It's really tough to know from a public standpoint what the truth is. Mm-hmm. But look, I used to represent, very famous people, and I've been through it for so long on so many other people's behalf that people always have opinions, and they're almost always wrong about people who they've never met before.
Are you saying that from watching you just a little bit on TV, I don't know you? Because I don't think that's fair. And also, I think that winning does equal happiness. And if you don't win this year, you'll be unhappy.
Right.
No, actually, I'm happy to hear you say that, because, of course, people who are just watching you don't know you from one performance in a poker tournament or several and they don't know. We don't know you as a player. We know some of you as a player, and we don't know you as a person. We've seen one aspect of you as a person.
As a player, you can make some judgments. As a person, of course, you can't at all.
Right.
I have my judgments.
Yeah.
It occurred to me that, and I'm just going to talk about one aspect of your play. Your table talk was the best I've ever seen, and was that something you knew going in was a strategy of yours, or did it just come to you like you're Mozart and you're inspired to... And I don't mean to pump you up, but it was amazing. Every time you manipulated them into doing what you wanted them to do.
It wasn't a conscious thing. It became that by the end because everybody was making such a big deal about it I had to have felt some kind of, at least subconsciously, getting into a hand, I had to feel like, okay, there's my edge, that I can actually talk someone in and out of their hand. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to outplay certain people, so that might be the only edge that I have, but I wasn't thinking about it going in. I had been playing a lot of small tournaments around Los Angeles, and I never thought of myself as a big talker, but I guess everybody else did.
So it wasn't a new thing for you. Maybe you knew that you'd really picked up on how much effect it was
having. It was new
but not new.
that people were talking about it.
Right.
But where I had been playing at the Hustler and Bicycle and Commerce, I guess I was playing with a lot of people who I was very familiar with, and we knew each other as people. So that's kind of, I'm a talker anyway, so it was just a natural thing for me to try to talk people in and out of their hands, and I didn't realize that it was something that was so different.
Definitely, I think we can all see that you're naturally a talker, you naturally interact with people at the table, but are there any specific talking techniques or things that you set up where you use certain cues or certain things to push people in a certain way? Or is it just
I'm sure there are, but it
fly-
just comes to me when, I mean, there are also a lot of days where I never said a word the whole time. You know, it depends what table I'm playing at and how I feel like I can or cannot manipulate the situation. But most of the time when I'm playing, I'm not saying a word.
I watched a lot of the broadcast, and then I watched the final table on the pay-per-view. And one thing I picked up on, and that a lot of people commented on, was that it seemed that most of the time when you were talking, you were being truthful about the hand. Now, is that a misperception just based on the hands they showed, or is that something that was the case most of the time, and then maybe in some key situations you mixed it up? Or
no, that was right, and it also seemed to be working a lot. By the time I got to the final table, I realized that nobody ever believes anything a poker player says.
Yeah.
So if I just tell them what I have, you know, I tell them that, listen, you know, it's because you're not allowed to say exactly what your hand is. I have a lot of fun with it in cash games, but there are a lot of things you can't do in tournaments, which is a little bit confusing because sometimes the rules are not exactly
Well,
what.
you were on the edge sometimes, I think. Did you feel that? There were some times when you were, it seems like, right on the edge as far as the rules. And not that I think necessarily those rules are right, but that
Right, but they
you
do
were on a fine
exist.
line.
No, the rules are idiotic, and I do think they didn't call it on him, but maybe he treaded finely, but it worked, and you know.
It is amazing that they don't want us to talk. They don't want us to show a card. They don't want to. These rules are so, you know.
When it's heads up, you should be allowed basically to do anything short of punching the other person.
Right.
And in certain instances, I think that should be allowed.
Right. That's it.
But that's that's a gray
I was
area.
going to say, I feel better about punching people than some of the other stuff that they do allow.
Right.
Or they do block. But
to answer your question, I did by the time it was the final table, I was very conscious of the fact that people would not believe me. So I tended to want to tell them pretty much truthfully that I either had nothing, and they just don't believe it. So then they fold their hand.
well, the final hand against Paul Wasika, I mean, you'd been calling your hand, you'd been showing the right hands, and then in the final hand, you told Paul Wasika that he was beat. But even he couldn't keep himself from calling you, and he's a really good player. And he played.
I
very
wanted
well
him.
at
I
final
wanted him to
table.
think that I was on a draw. And
So that was a conscious.
Oh, very. Yeah, by the end, and I also had enough. You know, it was like, I think we were playing, that day, 14 hours. I think all the other days were going 15 hours. I hadn't slept in 3 days. I had, you know, every reporter and cameras and everything, you know, everything's on you to just win it. And if I didn't win it, I was going to look like an idiot. So I just had enough, and I really just wanted, and I felt bad about the way that, because I really like him. He and I have now become really good friends, but at the time I thought it was really inappropriate the way that I was kind of berating him, but it was out of a frustration of, let's just get it over with. I almost didn't even care to play anymore. I just had enough.
It's exhausting for sure.
Yeah.
I can't imagine after 9 or 10 days, especially now that you've got the additional pressure of all the TV, all the interviews, all the crowds. I mean, it was tough enough before, and when I went deeper in the event, it was when it was still a 4 or 5 day event, so I can't imagine 9 or 10 days. But that's without the constant pressure. I mean, where you can't even walk from the table to the bathroom without people stopping you, talking to you.
It's
or whatever.
very hard to focus.
But
really.
now you've been going through this for a year. I mean, just now when we were downstairs, some guy that I didn't know, and I've been on TV like 3 times, so you've been on much more. A guy said, "Hey, player," to me, and I don't know what he is, and I was like, "That's creepy." So I can only imagine what it's like walking around and like just people, disembodied voices. Hey,
You know, they
Jamie!
grab you a lot. That's
Oh,
what
I
really
don't like to be
bothers me.
touched.
I don't like to be touched by strangers, and I get grabbed all the time. And I go like this, and they go, "Don't be an asshole." And I said, "You came up and grabbed me. You're a stranger to me, and I'm being an asshole."
It's this weird perception that if people see you on TV,
They own
think
you.
They feel like they
Oh,
own
no,
you.
they
Yeah.
feel like not
I
only
feel like I
you,
own you, but not entirely. It's a
Not
small
because you
bit-
saw me on TV.
No, I lease you. It's not an ownership, it's a lease.
but they feel they know you, and that since they know you, you know them. They don't realize that TV is a one-way thing. You're not looking out towards them. A lot's been made of Johnny Chan being a mentor of yours. Certainly, at least he was there supporting you at the final table and in last year's event. And it's funny because, I mean, I've played a fair amount with Johnny, and first of all, we were talking about table talk. I've heard very little table talk from him ever. And his style of play is also pretty different from yours. I mean, he's aggressive, but he's also, very solid. He's certainly not a guy who plays nearly as many hands as you play or who's nearly as loose a player.
Well, don't forget that was also. It's really easy to play that way when you have such a monstrous lead on people. I wasn't playing that way to get to that point. You know what I mean? It's what people. The one big misperception is that I just sit down at the table and start playing Deuce 5. It's not like that. It's when I'm sitting with 3 million and the biggest chip stack is 300,000 at my table, and it's very easy to play that way, to play every hand and bully people around. But that's not the way that I or anybody should ever play until you're in that position. I don't know if I'll ever be in that position again. But it was based on the chip stack. So it wasn't necessarily my style of play. It was what I thought was the right thing to do based on the gross amount of chips that I had.
I didn't think you just started playing Deuce 5. I thought you just started playing Deuce Tray. That was the impression I got. Do you ever get sick of poker in general? It's been a year now, and must still seem like a whirlwind. You ever going to take a few months off?
I did. I actually, my father was dying, and so I took 3 months to spend the last 3 months of his life with him.
Cell phone's
That's
off, everybody.
embarrassing.
Cell phone's off. No, because mine's on too.
It's a live show.
Let me make sure we get
If we
it
get
off.
an
Sorry.
important call, we get an important call. It's Johnny Chan calling. He didn't like some of those comments.
And then my mom had a tumor, and so I spent a couple of months with her. So basically, half the year it's only been 10 months because we started early again this year.
Right.
6 of those months I spent with my family. 4 of the months I was flying, doing interviews, TV shows, appearances. I did a lot of charity work. And so I only got to play in, I think, 4 tournaments. I haven't been able to play poker at all. So not only am I not sick of it, I wish I could just play poker.
Right.
That's really what I was here for in the first place. And it actually, winning took me away from being able to play poker.
Probably a good thing, though, because you come in fresh and you're excited. I mean, if you've been playing constantly and traveling the poker circuit, might not be as excited about it.
You're not
That's
going to
true.
work again anymore, right?
Oh, no, I am. I'm still, I still...
Don't.
I love it. I don't do it for the money. I do it because I love it. And we just finished shooting another 7-episode series, and I don't think I'll ever stop working. But I also don't ever want to stop playing poker. I'd like to do both.
You've played live poker too, or mostly just tournaments?
No, I play a decent amount of live because there are very few tournaments that exactly fit into my schedule. But all of a sudden, I'm done at midnight, and I have 4 hours. You can go play live. So live is so easy because you can just do it whenever you want to do it. Tournaments just never seem to work out exactly the when you want them to be. So it's a much tougher schedule. So I play live once or twice a week, which, based on the schedule that I have, feels like a lot.
Any particular adjustments that you're making? I mean, you mentioned before that people are trying to run you down, so obviously you have to tighten up and you have to set people up in a different way. But any other specific strategic things, and obviously not too specific, but any other things that, have you come in with a specific game plan for how you're going to address the changing perceptions people have of you, or is it just a general thing and you're still just going to play it by
No,
feel?
I'm going to play really tight. It's not going to be a big surprise to anybody. Anybody sits down with me at a table for an hour will see it. My game is completely changed because of the way that people are playing against me. But other than that, I believe that it's foolish to have too much of a game plan because you don't know who you're playing against. You don't know how they're going to be playing against you. You don't know what kind of table you're sitting at. So anybody who goes in, it's not a it's not a negative term, but a lot of amateur players, and I mean really amateur, who just started the game, who think that they know everything there is to know about the game, start babbling about this way that they're going to do this at the table, and I hey, good luck. You know, it's great to have that plan. Good luck when you sit down, then try doing what you think you're going to be able to do. Nobody's in control of their table until they get there and really see what's happening.
I'm going to quote a great poker player, Mr. Mike Tyson, who said, "Everybody's got a plan until they get hit."
Right?
That's right.
Anyway, if we get involved in a hand, though, and there's a lot of chips in the pot, I want you telling me the truth. I don't want you crossing me up now and for the first time.
I probably won't be talking at all. And that's also seeming to really bother people. If they start talking to me and they say, "Come on, where's the information?"
Table talk, right?
And I just sit there, and then you just see them get riled up, and that I like doing. Actually,
Oh, so you're tilting guys just by switching.
I
who
am
they
putting
perceive
people on
you to
tilt
be.
by not
That's
saying
awesome.
a word.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone knows the most important thing in poker really is not even reading other people, but knowing how other people are reading you. You seem to have a good handle on that. It's going to pay off.
Well, it's real obvious right now. You know, that'll change. But right now, I mean, people are screaming how they're reading me. So, you know, I mean, they're all yelling at me, telling me what they think of me. So I'd have to be pretty ignorant not to feel it and sense it.
Jamie, thanks for coming in. It's been
Thanks
a pleasure,
for having me.
and I wish you the best of luck.
It's nice to meet you.
A lot of fun to have
It's
you.
really nice to
Good
meet
luck.
you. You guys are a
Okay.
lot of fun. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us on The Scoop. We'll be back tomorrow with another guest.
Bye, everybody.